Welcome to the Career Rockstars podcast.
Hello, listeners. I'm your host, Dr. Alicia Ali. Welcome to this episode of the Career Rockstars podcast, sponsored by Unique U Careers Belgium. At Unique U Careers, our vision is to create a space where every client can explore their career possibilities. We support professionals to achieve their career aspirations, empowering them to be more, to lead more, and to live more, to become a career rock star, always ready for their next career move. My guest today is Steve Preston, and Steve tells me he wears two hats. On one hand, there is his personal brand, Steve Preston, the Career Catalyst, and on the other, he's managing director of SMP Solutions, Career and People Development. And Steve has been in this domain of career coaching for almost 20 years. He is an internationally acclaimed author of not one, but 3 career and personal development books, keynote speaker, creator of several courses. He's a broadcaster on LinkedIn. He has his own YouTube channel. He's a global thought leader. And we can go on and on, but I'll save some for him to tell us about. I'm really looking forward to learning a lot about how Steve manages his career, opening and managing his own consulting business while building a personal brand. So all coaches, and especially career coaches and those seeking career coaching, get those headphones on as Steve takes us on his journey, his lessons learned, his advice, and maybe we'll peek into the future to see what he's up to. So in my eyes, Steve is a career rock star. Join me in welcoming Steve Preston, my first guest from London, UK, to the Career Rockstars podcast. Welcome, Steve.
Right, thank you, Alicia. Well, how can I follow that? What an introduction. Thank you. I'm delighted to be here, and thanks for inviting me.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. It's really a pleasure to have you here, and I know that our listeners are in for a treat, shall we say. Steve, shall we dive straight in?
Yeah, sure.
When I think about it, by far, you're the most long-standing career coach that I know.
Is that a polite way of saying I'm old?
No, it's a great way of saying that I'm looking forward to learning a lot from you, and also for our listeners to learn a lot from you. So that's a high expectation right there.
Thank you.
But I also saw that you're also training aspiring career coaches. So that is a demonstration of your experience and expertise. So having said all of that, I'm wondering what drives you, what's your mission and your passion around career coaching, if you can describe that for us, and personal development, of course.
Yeah, well, great question, Alicia. I'll give you the short answer.
Sure.
Well, like many people in this field, it's all about helping people, and helping people to unlock and fulfill their potential, arguably. In my eyes, you know, we're all here for a purpose, whatever that may be. And surely one of the biggest purpose for everyone is to be able to fulfill their true potential. And unfortunately, as you well know, Alicia, only a small percentage of people ever do that. In fact, the majority of people have no real perception of what their potential is in the first place. So I see the role in terms of career coaching is manifold, but one of the key aspects that gets me out of bed every day is to be able to help people to achieve their true potential, but also, like my t-shirt says, to help them do what they love. Because
I love that.
my mantra is that you spend more waking hours at work than in any other activity. Life is too short, so why be unhappy? Take the leap of faith and do what you love.
Yeah.
I think that it's so important. And most research, I'm sure you're aware of this, Alicia, but most research, wherever it's conducted, usually showcases that 1 in 2 people are, quote, unhappy in the wrong job, unfulfilled, whatever. So that's half the population. So why
And I
spend?
truly believe, yeah, and I agree with you. Thanks for sharing that, Steve. But I agree with you, but I believe it's more than 1 in 2.
Well, yeah, yes, 2 out of 3 maybe. Yeah, but that's just a ballpark figure, isn't it? So we all know, everybody knows somebody or lots of people who are unhappy in their jobs or careers, but most people don't do anything about it. And it's one of the reasons I set up my LinkedIn Live, Career Change Hacks Live stream a few weeks ago, because I'm calling that, but put it, it's all about helping people to, or professionals and executives, put an end to career misery and focusing on doing what they love.
I like that. I like that. Put in career misery as a terminology. It's really good. That I totally agree. And I think most career coaches, that's what drives us to support people, because we can see what they cannot see. That's how I see it. And what brings that spark in your eyes when you work with a client? In your eyes?
Sorry, what do you mean exactly by that?
So when you work with a client and you see that breakthrough for them, what specifically brings the joy to you in terms of what you do?
Oh, absolutely. Seeing them blossom and grow and flourish, and their confidence, totally boosted, so they feel they can take on the world. There's no better feeling than seeing somebody who you start working with, who's low in confidence and self-belief, usually, often self-worth, who suddenly, as a result of all the coaching and the different activities we go through, and the process that I take them through, which I'm sure we'll allude to later,
Yeah.
They achieve many light bulbs, and all of a sudden they can start to see opportunity and really grasp it. And then they go off and fly. I mean, it's a wonderful feeling, especially if they've been through a redundancy situation and they've started off, from a point of view, a start point, if you like, of really completely being destroyed by the redundancy. And they see that as a threat, but working with them through the coaching and through the different processes I use, they then start to see their new potential, unlock that potential, and now happy and it's raring to go to take on new opportunity, if you like.
Yeah, that's really the journey. When you see them go through that journey, it really brings a joy, I think, for all career coaches. Super. So, I like to think of our careers, as you say, as a roller coaster. Like with redundancy, sometimes we're down, sometimes we're up. When we're in the flow, we are doing what we love, and sometimes And when we do that, we feel like a career rock star, right? So
Absolutely, yeah.
when I think about your career, Steve, as a career coach, what was that trigger? What inspired you to become a career coach?
Well, it was as a result of my own redundancy situation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a long story, but I'll give you the short version. Yeah, my company, my background was the travel industry. My company moved lock, stock, and barrel all their key operations to the north of England. I was living in London and had me to go. So that was a career defining decision. So, it was a real learning point for me as well, because it was an immediate decision when I talked to my wife about it. I mean, 30 seconds we said, no, that's not for us. And it was for a number of reasons. The kids were at key exam ages, but also the fundamental thing, and as a career coach now, I realize how important this is, for us to instill in our clients, is the fact that I didn't want an employer telling me where to live and then decide the job they wanted me to do there, because they were going to offer me a different job, a slightly
Mm-hmm.
different job to what I would have wanted to do anyway. So it was a career defining moment for me. And I realized that one of the most important things that everybody needs to do, especially career professionals and executives, you need to take back control. You need to be in control of your career and your life, rather than letting an employer do that for you. And obviously, when you have a key downturn or a pandemic like we just seen, then clearly you're completely out of control, and
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, then the redundancies happen.
So that, Steve, what you just said is really linked to the purpose of this podcast,
Mm,
really to help professionals to take back control,
mm,
sorry, of their careers,
mm.
so
But
that
well,
they are in charge.
yes. But what happened, very briefly, Alicia? I ended up quite a few months down the line. I was lost. I'm
Mm-hmm.
happy to admit I was lost. I got some outplacement support through my company, and it wasn't great, shall we say, and that's putting it mildly.
Mm-hmm.
And I always felt there must be a better way to support people when they're so vulnerable. And I
Mm-hmm.
saw how many of my colleagues reacted, and I was actually happy to go in the end, because I didn't want to relocate. So, if you like, my redundancy was more voluntary, but a lot of other people didn't see it that way. And I
Mm-hmm.
ended up months later on a government-funded course, and it was my first taste of career and personal development. And I absolutely loved it. I embraced it, and I realised that uh, maybe this was the way forward for me. And what happened at the end of that course, and I'll just share this quickly because I think it's really important for career coaches,
Mm-hmm.
and anyone who's gone through that process to understand. There was 20 odd people in the group I was in, and a huge percentage of them were bitter and twisted and negative. And I very quickly realized that it's all about mindset. And those that core of bitter and twisted and angry people, they were still on that course, and probably going nowhere, weeks and months after I'd left the course and already set up my business. And so I realized that, having a positive mindset and a can-do
Mm-hmm.
attitude is so important. And I fed back at the end of the course to the managing director of the company running it, I said, great course, but I think you can improve it in certain ways. And one of the key ways was I felt they needed to adopt a coaching approach to the course rather than a teaching, telling approach,
So, yeah.
which a lot of the senior professionals and executives on the course found very derogatory, and quite right. And much to my surprise, she took all this on board. And before I knew it, I was helping them to completely rewrite a whole program. And then they asked me to start running some workshops for them. And then it became half-day workshops, full-day workshops. And then I ended up becoming their lead career coach, trainer,
Wow.
mentor to others and
Wow.
everything else.
Wow. That's
And then, of course, it
quite a
all,
journey.
yeah.
Quite a journey. Quite a
But if
journey.
you'd said to me, I mean, this is the key thing again, Alicia, that if you'd said to me, you know, a year or so before that, that I would become a career coach and I'll be doing all this sort of stuff, I would have laughed. Yeah, I would have
Yeah, we
laughed.
all laugh at ourselves afterwards, but you know, the true passion comes through. And what you said about the mindset and the coaching approach, it's powerful because those people who were stuck in the blame and complain, shall I call it, nothing is wrong with that, but they don't realize that they're stuck in the grief curve.
Yeah.
And it's how we can use coaching and other tools to help them to get out of that, because only when you get out of that, you find the prize, right? The gift at the other end of the curve. I like your sign behind you, changes next exit. Yeah,
Well,
so it's
that
like mhm,
yeah, that
we're
all links
always in
to,
between jobs, right? We're
yes,
always in between
absolutely.
jobs. Yeah.
But that links
And
beautifully to my career navigation cycle process, Alicia, which I developed having done this for a number of years, because
mhm,
you know, although I was doing that work for the company who were running the course, I was developing my own business alongside that as well. And you know, everybody says to me, "Yeah, Steve, you're really great at this stuff." Well, they said two things to me. Firstly, you need to write a book, which I'm sure we'll come back to. But the other thing they said is you seem to have a really great way of helping people work through, um,
mhm,
uh, you know, from where they are now to where they might be able to get to. And I've
mhm,
been a very curious sort of person. I did a lot of research and analysis, and I mapped a lot of client journeys and my journey, and looked at what was it that made for a successful transition, whether it was redundancy, whether it was a career change out of choice, whatever. And I found
mhm.
that there were six key common themes, if you like,
Yeah,
Alicia. Um, and you know, in outline, basically, the first step one, basically, this is my 6-step process. Step one: let go and look forward. And
mhm,
you know, it's not just people who go through a redundancy situation who hang on to things. They tend to hang on to a lot more. But even people who choose to change career, they still hang on to a lot of stuff which is not helpful to them. So I'd say take the learning from the past, bring it forward with you.
yeah. So tell
Then,
us tell us quickly the other 5 steps,
right, step two
because
is
I am really interested in methodologies and how we use them in coaching. So
right.
let's go through the 5 steps quickly, and then
So,
we'll come back to
yeah.
the details.
Okay. Brilliant. Yeah. Step two is reevaluate, and that's all about what's important to you in your career and
Mm-hmm,
life and why. And then step three is establishing what I call your true marketability, and
mm-hmm,
that's way more than transferable skills, which is what most career specialists or professionals focus on.
mm-hmm.
It's what
What
I
else
call
is
your
in there? What else is
it,
in there?
well, it's your complete package. It's your transferable skills. It's a lot about your personal attributes, your knowledge, your achievements, um, um, your networks, It's a whole raft of different things. It's about your personal brand. Essentially, in a nutshell, it's who you are and what you have to offer, either an employer or as a business owner. And when people go through this process, it's remarkable. Even people who never thought about setting up a business, once they start to understand their true marketability, then the light bulb comes on and think, well, yeah, if I've got all these
Super.
skills and attributes and everything else, maybe I could set up a business of my
So,
own.
so that's step 3, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Step 4 is exploring opportunities. So having done that, those first 3 steps, and those first 3 steps are all arguably personal development work. It's all inner self stuff that people rarely do. Then the next 3 steps are much more typical career development. So exploring opportunities, that's all about research, dipping a toe in the water.
It's more the tactical bits.
Absolutely. And then step 5 is deciding what to do, whether it's employed, self-employed, or dare I suggest a portfolio career even.
Yeah,
There's so many options in the 21st century digital age. And then step
indeed.
6 is taking positive action to make it all happen. So it brings it all together.
Because they have that clarity. Because they have
Yeah.
that clarity by now and the confidence and importantly, the alignment with themselves.
Yes,
I have a question about methodology. Because, I'm an ICF ACC coach, and the coach and ethics are very, we stand by them. It's almost like a pledge. And there are parts of career coaching where you apply pure coaching, shall we say. And there are parts where, it becomes more tactical and you're working with the client, sometimes mentoring them, advising them, and so on. How has the methodology helped you and your clients, having that roadmap?
Well, a great question, Alicia. A lot of people have said that basically having a framework or a process model, whatever you want to call it, it helps them dramatically because they can measure their progress. They can see they're moving towards an end goal. Whereas, a lot of career coaching, and I've seen people are basically using a blank sheet of paper, a blank canvas. And I always say that you can't hit a target you can't see.
Exactly.
And so people feel I suppose it's a comfort factor that they've got a process and it's a proven process. They know it works. So that if they follow that process and
okay. So I don't feel so bad. So I have a 3-phase methodology. I'm also operation mindset, operational excellence. So if you don't have a target, it's like Google Maps, right? If you don't know where you're going, how are we going to get there? It's going to take us a longer time. But I do practice coaching itself with my clients, depending on which phase of the process you're in, of course. So that's very helpful. So having a methodology for our career coaches out there, while you practice your coaching, there's also several elements in there. You might be mentoring, you might be advising, and that's somehow unique to career coaching, although you can find the same in business coaching, where at some point you have to advise and mentor. So I'm going to come back now to your where were we? We were talking before the methodology. Oh yeah, now that we're talking about career coaches, I'm going to switch gears a bit. We've seen over the last 2 years, and I'm probably one of them who came on board, the new wave of career coaches out there. How would you describe the evolution of the industry and how maybe it has impacted the way you work and other career coaches in your network?
Interesting question, Alicia. I think a number of things have happened.
Mm-hmm.
Without being too disrespectful, as a result of the pandemic, every man Jack suddenly became a career coach. But the reality is that out of that group of people, a lot of them aren't really career coaches at all. They've just been um, helping people through difficulties, through challenges, mainly as a result of redundancy. But a lot of that has been solely focused on job search. And the ones who are arguably more ethical, more savvy, have sort of branded themselves as job search coaches. And I think that's absolutely right,
Mm-hmm.
because they're not looking at career in totality. All they're doing is helping get somebody from who's lost a job to get more of the same. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think
We
that's
call
a
that, yeah, we call that type one change in coaching.
all right. Okay.
So
Yeah.
you're just changing the environment.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not really looking to see what you love,
No,
or looking at
you're
the
not.
deeper value alignment with what you want to do in your future.
No.
So there's a type one and there's a type two. And
Yeah.
indeed, differentiation is good to help people to know what they're getting into.
Yeah. I mean,
Continue.
basically, what they're doing is they're missing out the first three steps of my process, and they're going straight to exploring opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And as you say, if they do that, well, they may get success, but they're never going to unlock their true potential and fulfill it.
Mm-hmm.
They're just
Mm-hmm.
going to be constantly doing more of the same. Um,
Yeah.
but also, I think obviously technology has played a massive part over the last few years. I mean, I've been working over,
Mm-hmm.
initially Skype and Zoom for many years now, but it's pretty much so now that you can just do just about anything over video conferencing calls, video meeting calls like this, that you can do face to face. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a huge change in the industry, even to the point where I know some very experienced career coaches who admitted to me during the pandemic last year that they were really, really nervous about moving their business to online. They were always doing face-to-face work, um, as I was, in the main, but
Mm-hmm.
they were very apprehensive about being online, being seen on screen, and so on. And because of that technologies, there's been an explosion in online courses as well,
Mm-hmm.
and if you like, hybrid courses as well, which are a combination of online course and career coaching. I mean, I do both. Um,
Yeah.
I think that's been a big change in the industry. So what's happened there is you can get some people who are great at the technology bits and are very good at getting that across, who've suddenly done really well in a difficult marketplace, where other people who've had more traditional methods have found it incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
So I think that's been a big change. But the other
Yeah.
change is that without doubt, during the pandemic, and there was so much on social media about this, people suddenly had the time to think. I want more meaning in my work. I want more fulfillment. I want more flexibility. I want to enjoy my work and my life. So this
Yeah. Have you
whole
seen
thing,
the latest McKinsey report on the
no,
great resignation? So
oh, the
it's no
great
longer,
resignation.
yeah, it's no longer the great attrition, it's the great attraction. and what is attracting people. And when it goes back, is about being valued by the company and being aligned with the values of the company. And they've mapped this out nicely in one of their recent research papers. I can send you the link afterwards.
Yeah. I mean,
So
I totally get that, but of course the big challenge there is that's fine, but every time you get a change of leadership, the values change, and all of a sudden they're out of alignment. Which is why it's so important that people take control of their careers.
Exactly. And one thing I wanted to add is when you do that, because we can give all the tools and we can just throw the methodology out there and, job search strategies and what have you. But until that person doesn't fundamentally go through those 3 steps that you talk about, which I believe all true career coaches do, it's about the person, right? Know thyself.
Yeah.
And until we don't do that, then the change is not sustainable. It's not enduring. And
totally
the next time they're for a job search, they might know what to do, but the misery, as you say, will still be there.
Yes, if you like, you're just scratching this with the iceberg syndrome, isn't it? What lies underneath.
Yeah, it's the same when you come to stress management, when you come to time management. You can have all the tools until something doesn't click within you. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You will be using tools, and that authentic willingness and that authentic action will take a long time to click in.
Yeah.
So good. How are we doing so far? Thank you. You're sharing some great nuggets for our audience. Yeah. Great. Lovely to have you. I keep watching your t-shirts and I know I'm doing what I love. So let's talk a bit about personal branding.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's part of your book, the one with the 6 steps. That's about the marketing, right?
Yeah.
So let's imagine we've done the work, we know ourselves, shall we say, all the traits and qualities and skills and strengths and so on, our marketability. How do we start branding ourselves in terms of the person who is working with you?
Yeah, well, again, that's a great question, Alicia. I think the short answer to that is I think you've got to look at what it is you're looking to do and what are the best routes to market. And nowadays, for most people, it's invariably going to be through LinkedIn and their LinkedIn profile. And I think that is the start point. And this is where so many people go wrong, as I'm sure you're aware, Alicia. So many people try to recreate their CV or resume on their LinkedIn profile rather than actually telling a story about who they are and what they have to offer. And it's interesting that one of the first things you said on this podcast was about my 2 hats. Well, that you got that from my LinkedIn profile, because I thought, how do I put across who I am and what's important to me and how I can help people? And that's really what people need to do in terms of their self-marketing and their personal brand. The temptation is just to focus purely on very sort of typical rigid stuff that would be on a CV or resume. And especially if you're changing career, because none of that is necessarily relevant. You've got to tell a story about what you're now looking to achieve and why you're looking to achieve that, and the sort of audiences that that might appeal to.
Yeah, and now there's the possibility to upload media. You can make short videos of yourself. You can put it in there.
Yes.
You can upload your resume. So use that section. I probably have some homework to do. I keep changing my about me because we get different advice from different people. But each time I feel like I'm not expressing myself clearly enough, in terms of what I can bring to my audience. I go in there and I reflect. But it's not the only thing. Today we also have we do talks at different conferences and summits. It's all about how you present yourself, right? In those bigger networking events. Every time you speak to someone, every time you go on Facebook, whatever, it's part of your personal branding, and that consistency from a professional front is so important.
Yeah,
I'm curious, and this one, sorry, go on, Steve.
I was just going to say, I have a saying that I talk about in my seminars and coaching and everything. The importance of what you say, how you say it, and to whom. And I ran a webinar for a charity that supports unemployed people, unemployed professionals and executives. And out of everything in the webinar, the feedback was fantastic. But the guy who organized the event, he said, Steve, that resonated with me above everything else in the whole webinar. So I've never thought about it in that way. And of course, what you're talking about there is personal brand, isn't it? And that brand consistency.
Yeah, and you know, as coaches and also as professionals with a lot of experience and expertise, we take a lot of things for granted. We believe what we know, everyone else knows, but there's so much knowledge gaps out there, and the more we can share through things like podcasts, through books, through your webinars, your LinkedIn lives, and so on, the more we can support people. So coaching is a business, but there's also so much love you can share, shall I say, through being a truly ethical coach, regardless of if it's for job search. You know, people can niche down areas. Some people just focus on LinkedIn, whatever. They are helping people to really progress. What is important, though, is that the clients know what they're buying.
Yes.
Because sometimes they might be looking for that type 1 change, which is okay. But sometimes they might be really needing and not knowing that they are seeking a type 2 change, where we're talking about switch and double switch now in terms of careers. So to all our listeners, I would say know what you're looking for, and you know, find the right coach to match your needs.
I think,
and that's why we do those initial calls with our clients, right? To really understand if what we are providing matches their needs.
And I think it's really important as well that coaches and career coaches are totally honest and ethical, because if the match isn't right, but the client says, well, I want to work with you, I think it's important to say, well, that's great, and I value that. However, I'm not the right person for you. And especially if you can refer to somebody who you know is much more of an expert in that area, then I think that's really important. And you know, I've never had an issue with that. But I know some people would just grab everything regardless.
No. Or you expand your niche, but it's true that people come with so many things, and we should let them know that, you know, we can recommend someone who would be more efficient in helping them to achieve their goals. It's also part of the ethics of coaching. I wanted to bring it back to your company and your 2 hats.
Right.
Because I'm sure I have that challenge, and I also know other people with that challenge. So you have your personal brand. So for me, it's Alicia Ali Coaching and Mentoring. And then I have my company, which is Unique You Careers, which is more consultancy, which is around engagement and performance. So it's 2 slightly different things. How do you manage? I mean, you are at least in the same domain.
Well, let me just explain how it came about first, because I think that's really important. When I was writing my first book, Winning Through Redundancy, I engaged a publicist, or I was networked to this publicist, amazing woman. Unfortunately, I only knew her for a few months before she passed away from a horrible cancer. And she was a fantastically talented lady. I was absolutely floored that she even wanted to consider me as a client. And she said to me, Steve, your writing is fantastic. I think you've got, she actually said to me, I think you've got 5 books in you in the next 10 years. I nearly fell off my chair. She said, but what you need to do is to differentiate yourself as a writer, as an author, from your company. She said, your company is reasonably well known and it's got a reputation for providing quality outplacements for executives, professionals, and so on. However, you're not known as an author. So you need to have a personal brand as an author. And we brainstorm a lot of ideas and so on. And I wanted something as well that I could trademark. And unfortunately, a lot of the initial ideas, somebody had already got those. But anyway, what I did in the end, which I'd recommend to any coach or career coach, I went out to a number of my clients and I said, look, I'm looking to create a personal brand as an author and in my own right as a leading career coach and so on. How would you describe what I do? You know, how would you describe that to somebody? And it was remarkable because a big percentage of people said, well, you're a catalyst. And I said, what do you mean by that? And they said, well, you act as the catalyst for change, transition, general career development, whatever. I thought, fabulous, career catalyst. And it wasn't trademarked, so I grabbed it.
Correct,
And
catalyst was born.
yeah, and the publicist, she loved it, and she said that I think that's great brand as a author for career and personal development books.
Super. Steve, quickly highlight we don't have time to delve into the details of your other 2 books, but the one we spoke about, the six-step methodology. Quickly highlight the other 2, and then we can move on
Well,
from
the
there.
6-step methodology is in my first 2 books, in Winning Through Redundancy and Winning Through Career Change, because the methodology is the same, regardless of whether it's redundancy or change out of choice. So I'll focus mainly on the Portfolio Careers book, because that's a great passion of mine. And, you know, I'm humbled to be thought of as a global thought leader in portfolio careers development. And my take on it is the 3 Ps, what I call working for passion, pleasure, and profit. And let's face it, what could be better than that? And that book was fundamentally different, because what I did, I interviewed a mixture of my clients, contacts of mine who I knew had portfolio careers, and I got their take on it, warts and all. I thought it was really important to share the dilemmas and the real challenges of creating a portfolio career, rather than just all the glossy stuff, because it's not straightforward. So the book is basically it's a mixture of my years of knowledge and experience creating portfolio careers for myself and my clients, but also I think there's 10 or 12 case studies in there, people in different parts of the world as well, who've created their own portfolio careers and the journeys they've been from, and their key learning points.
Yeah, that's really, when was this published, this particular book?
I think it was 2017. So
cool.
Yeah,
so it was just with all the technology and everything coming alive. So while we are talking about books, So we talked about your books. What's one of your favorite you can recommend to our listeners?
Well, my favorite book, well, it depends how you describe it. It was an old style audio book, but Brian Tracy is my absolute hero, and amazing personal development guru. And I'm absolutely humbled that he endorsed my first two books, and even sent me a private personal message to congratulate me and to say, how much he thought I was adding to the world of what we do and so on, and to keep up the great work. And I was absolutely humbled. I finally met him at an event in London a few years ago, and he signed the book, which made it even better. But
is there a particular title that you?
Well, the one I love by him, the initial one was The Psychology of Achievement, and that was pre-internet. And then he repurposed it, brought it up to date, and it became The New Psychology of Achievement. Now, by today's standards, it would be classed as an audio book. It was CDs back in those days.
Yeah.
But it's an absolute masterpiece. It's an absolute masterpiece. It's all about criteria for personal success, for basically being the best person you can be, and so on. And what I love about Brian Tracy is he makes the complex sound so simple. It's an amazing talent that he has to do that. And he's such a genuine person. I've seen him speak live, and he's no props, nothing, no script, no PowerPoint, nothing.
Because you know why? He's doing what he loves, right?
Yeah, and it's all there. And he talked for the whole day.
When you do what you love, you don't have to script anything.
Yeah. But
except maybe some of my questions for the podcast.
Yeah, I mean the other I love the Robin Sharma series of books around the
5 a.m. Club is my favorite.
The monk who sold his Ferrari.
Yeah.
And I think that's again an amazing talent to take make up a story, if you like, which is very believable around real life incidents, and turn it into a personal development book, which has got massive learning. And that was going to be my final hurrah for my next book, but I'm not sure I'm ever going to get to that.
Oh, you are going to get to it. Remember your potential.
It's a huge, one of the things I learned, and for all coaches and so on, it's a great undertaking to write a book. I think there's now a trend to write much shorter books. So I suppose that's more achievable. My books are in the main sort of 250 to 300 pages. Whereas
I think where it comes, I think that's that really brings the advice we're getting today for books. And thanks for sharing the Brian Tracy series and Robin Sharma and all of those. They're classic, but if you really have the time, to our listeners, start reading those type of books, because they really bring something special and memorable to us. So when we write a book, and most coaches advise to write a book, it's about visibility, branding, but it also brings the credibility and authority in the subject. So it's not just about writing a book. I also had an ebook, but if I can go back and change that really to make it really deeper and not just for my branding, I feel I can add so much more. So that's what I was trying to get from this discussion, is something that when we do it again with that great intention to support others. So Steve, we are coming to the end. we do have a couple of things I would like to say, and then maybe the last question will come. So I really want to thank you for sharing, your experience, your stories, and how you have not only grew and manage your own career, but how you support others in their careers for almost 2 decades, and all your achievements. Bravo. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
So it's time for the theme question. This podcast is called the Career Rockstars podcast. And I've mentioned it several times, what I believe makes you a rock star, a career rock star. So what makes you, Steve Preston, a career rock star in a nutshell?
Oh, right. Well, thank you, Alicia. And again, thanks for inviting me. Well, I'm a career rock star because I've taken all my learnings to create a unique 6-step process that helps people move from where they are to where they want to get to, or if they don't know where they want to get to, it helps them realize where they do want to get to, and to unlock and fulfill their true potential. And also the fact now I'm an author of 3 internationally acclaimed books and 2 audio books, keynote speaker, and creator of 2 breakthrough career and personal development programs. But also, as a result of client demand, I also coach and mentor aspiring career coaches and existing career coaches to either become better at what they do or to learn my unique tools and techniques. It was something I
Okay,
never,
great.
yeah.
That's great.
So if you like, I'm developing the new career catalysts, the career catalysts of the future.
Super. And I think I need a new category then. So that was the career rock star, but I think we also have the career superstar, maybe the next level.
Oh, you're going to make me blush now.
So, my dear listeners, thank you, Steve. Join me in sincerely thanking Steve Preston for sharing so much about his career and how he supports others in their careers. I also want to shout out and thank author Gail Gibson for introducing us a few months ago, Steve, if you remember how we met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're great friends and we've done a lot of brilliant work together.
So I also read her book. I'm at that age. Go look it up. So Steve, you've certainly inspired us with your admirable career path. And thanks for sharing all those strategies and tips to support, professionals and anyone in managing their career. And what I really like is that you reminded us of the importance of the mindsets and reframing things, as you said, to help us not only in our career management, but from any aspect of life.
Can I just leave you with one of my favorite quotes?
Sure,
Alicia?
Steve.
It's from the great Henry Ford, and it's so true. It's whether you think you can or you can't, you're right.
Exactly.
Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. That's all about mindset, isn't it?
It's all about mindset and authenticity also, I think, if I can add to that. So really, I admire how you've built your personal brand and your consultancy business side by side. And I think a lot of our listeners and myself, I'm learning from that. So a big thank you, Steve Preston, for sharing your career journey with us.
Thank you for inviting me, Alicia.
You're welcome. So remember, listeners, you are unique, your career is unique, and your lifestyle is unique, and that it's never too late or early to take control of your career, to become your own career rock star. This is your host, Dr. Alicia Ali, Europe's premier career coach and mentor. Thank you for listening, and remember to subscribe. Join us next time on the Career Rockstars podcast.
We'll enable you to be more, lead more, and to live more, to become a career rock star.